And we are live. Welcome to another episode of the St. Clair Romero Show.
Hello,
Uh,
everyone.
we Hello, and we are going to be talking about a Shutter original called Mad God by Phil Tippett, or that's how you spell his name.
Yeah, Phil Tippett.
Yeah, and so we're going to be talking about that. But first, before we do that, we're going to be talking about some news that came out about the new It series called Welcome to Derry. Now, I don't know much ab- we don't know much about the plot, but if you guys have seen the original miniseries and the two films that came out, um, you can speculate a little bit and get an idea of what they're going to do. Are they going to continue from the original series, the or the two films they came out? Because they're the same, but they're a little different from each other. So because of the way it plays out, so. Wardo, have you seen any of the It stuff?
I watched the OG fucking
Tim Curry.
miniseries, yeah, way back when I was a kid, but I don't really remember it all that well, to be honest. It didn't really leave all that big of a mark on me, to be totally frank. But I did watch the newer movies. I thought they were pretty well. The first one was pretty good. The second one was yeah, it was
It
almost a
it
good
was a
movie.
mess.
It was almost a good movie, you know.
It wasn't
But
bad.
no, no, not bad by
Yeah.
any means, but like they really I think they really sold the adult characters short because they were too afraid to let go of the kid characters, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like in the original like miniseries, they when they get to the adult characters like arc like story, like they still show flashbacks to
Yeah.
the kids. So it made sense that they did that, but they did do it a lot in chapter two.
Well, the
Um,
problem is it was structured not to be that way. They had it structured so that the first film was going to be about them as children, and then the second film was going to be about them as adults. There were no flash forwards or flashbacks in the first It movie, at least not in the modern ones.
Yeah, I do agree, like, on that aspect of it when it comes to just keep it with the adult characters. Don't do flashbacks or anything because you
Yeah,
get it
I mean,
all. I can understand that.
yeah, because all they really did was just to kind of fucking tread water, just refresh those fucking thread. There's like what, like one character reveal that could have been done without with that the Finn Wolfhard character is gay. Like you didn't need to have actual with like Finn Wolfhard there, like you could have had that some other way or something. Like, yeah, it too was a total mess. But from what I understand, isn't Derry like in all of Stephen King's? Like, isn't it a part of his little universe or whatever?
Yeah, there is supposed to be a town in a place called what's it called? Castle Rock. So it's all
Right,
in
right,
it's
right.
all of his stories are usually set in Maine. And Castle Rock is like the say the county that all the stories takes place, so it's like a
Gotcha.
shared universe, yeah. So like Cujo, Christine, The Shining with
No,
with
that takes place in Castle Rock.
yeah, in Maine.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
yeah. Because it's like it goes because they go to because they're from Maine. The Torrances, they're from
Mhm.
Maine, and they go to I think Canada or something because they're right next. Maine is next to Canada, like it's
Yeah.
literally on the border. So like they go to Canada and they go to that resort area that's in the snow. So
I see.
um,
They just changed it for the Kubrick movie. Like, oh, Kubrick changed a lot, but yeah,
uh,
no, that's cool. I didn't know that. I mean,
yeah,
if that's the case, for the TV show, I think it'd be interesting. I mean, it'd be cool to see the kids from it in it, but like, I think it also would be cool to see a little bit of a crossover. Have the car from Christine there.
mhm,
Have Cujo, take Cujo as a puppy on a walk or some shit in the background.
yeah,
Somebody opens up a new pet cemetery. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Something cool like that.
yeah. I would love it that if they did that, but also like explained, not explained, but kind of nod at the fact that Pennywise is responsible for all those stories.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? The
Yeah. Now I'm picturing an episode where like Cujo is a puppy and fucking Pennywise fucking does something fucked up to like the like Cujo's mom or some shit, scars him for life or whatever, you know. Something like that would be kind of cool, interesting.
Yeah, because I think they can do it in a way where it's like they Pennywise does stuff that affects the other stories. So like Pennywise somehow affects Cujo's life, and Cujo ends up getting bit by a bat or
Yeah.
whatever he gets bit by, and then he gets rabies. So it's like Pennywise, he does like things um that starts the other characters or the other stories lifeline. So with Christine, like he does something like he kills a girl in the car, right?
Yeah.
And the girl then possesses the car and she becomes the car or something like
Yeah.
that, you know? So
Or
he
what if in the first season you see young Jack Torrance who's just starting to date Wendy, you know, fucking like back when they're like they just met, they're deeply like super in love and shit, you know? Like, you know, you see him like yeah, he drinks a little too much, but for the most part he's a good guy and he's like protecting Wendy, like being super like a really great boyfriend. And then like at the end he has to battle like Pennywise, and then what happens between him and Pennywise is what makes him start going down the downward spiral to where we see him in The Shining or something like that, you know?
yeah, that would be cool. And yeah, I would love to see something like that. Just
Mhm.
so you can tie everything together and then make it a shared universe and,
Yeah.
just make it make more sense, when it comes to like
Yeah.
all the stories. If it all takes place in Maine and they're all connected, um, someone has to like, or something, or someone, they have to cause like a ripple effect. So then
Yeah.
all the stories can, start, and then that's how we know how the story starts and then how it continues. That's because of Pennywise. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, that'd be pretty cool. Like to see the whole Stephen King cinematic universe come together, you know?
Yeah.
Phase one.
Yeah, phase one, phase two, phase three. Yeah, that'd be cool. And like implement like, Dark Tower, implement Misery, all these great Stephen King novels and adaptations. Like they should
Mhm.
implement the what's your favorite Stephen King story?
Story. I haven't really read any of his books to be honest.
What about movies?
The Shining.
The Shining.
Easily The Shining, yeah.
Okay.
But Doctor Sleep was pretty damn good too though.
Yeah, I love Doctor Sleep. Like a lot
Mhm.
people slept on that movie. Nobody really talked about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, the title's terrible. They should have called it The Shining 2 Doctor Sleep or something. And I know Mike Flanagan didn't want to do that because whatever, but you know, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a stupid fucking title too. But if it was just called Rise of the Apes, nobody would have fucking seen it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Sometimes you just gotta take the L on a movie title like that.
Yeah, it could be like it could have called The Shining of Doctor Sleep or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
right?
something like
Like
that.
just implement the Shining title into Doctor Sleep, just something like that. So it's not like Shining. I like Shining too, but like it should be like something like the Shining of Doctor Sleep because Doctor Sleep is Jack Torrance or not Jack Torrance. What's his son's name?
Danny Torrance.
Danny Torrance. So Danny Torrance, he has the Shining in him, and that's the reason why the title's in it because it's the Shining. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of the first movie. It's about Danny Torrance and um, his connection with the caretaker or whatever, or not the caretaker, the guy, um, and the only way they can communicate is through shining,
Hmm.
and that's what the whole movie is really about. It's about the shining and how Jack Torrance, the reason why he goes crazy because of his influence by the
Uh,
shining, but like the shining that
yeah,
he's being influenced by is the evil part, where Danny's is being affected by the good part of The Shining. That's the way I see it.
yeah. I think you said The Shining 30 times in the last 2 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. No, it sounds like it'd be a cool little adaptation. It would be cool. You know, I feel like speaking of Mike Flanagan, he he's the best at sort of replicating that that fucking vibe of a Stephen King like story, you know? And
Mhm,
all his movies have a particularly like Stephen King and hasn't he done a few Stephen King adaptations? Doctor Sleep, Gerald's Game.
mhm.
Those are the only two, right? From what I understand.
He also did Tall Grass, a Netflix film, because that was a Stephen King.
Oh,
Uh,
is that Tallgrass is a Mike Flanagan movie?
yeah,
Oh, I gotta go see that shit now. I didn't know that. Oh
yeah.
wow.
Well, I could have sworn I'm not saying officially, but like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a Mike Flanagan movie because it feels like one. You
Okay.
know, it's called um it's Tall Grass is in the title, but it's called I don't know. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix. Just type in Tall Grass, it'll pop
No,
up.
no, yeah.
It's a good movie.
I'll look it up too. But you know what? Like Mike Flanagan, I don't know if you've seen his original shows, or at least his Netflix shows, Haunting on Hill House, Blythe Manor, and Midnight Mass. Have you seen them?
No, I seen
Dude.
yeah,
Oh man. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying like I seen Haunted. I didn't see Haunted on Hill House, but I saw it on Netflix.
Yeah, dude.
On the movies show section.
Mike Flanagan is a fucking mastermind. The way I didn't like Bly Manor because it was more of a love story and it was just a little too slow for my taste, so I didn't finish watching it. But I did watch Hill House all the way through, and I watched Midnight Mass, and those are incredible horror TV shows, dude. And I don't know if you know this, but there's an episode in Hill House that's all done in one take, and it's
Yeah.
crazy. And you know, a lot of the times, like doing a bunch in one take is just kind of done to show off and all that, you know, and it doesn't really serve the story. And I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't always fucking serve the story in the episode, but it's done really well, and it all kind of leads up to a very heartbreaking ending. Let's just say that the way they use that gimmick or not the gimmick, but the technique to the very end. You know, yeah, dude, I highly recommend Mike Flanagan shows. Midnight Mass was like probably the best thing I watched all last year. And I think it'd be really cool to have midnight to have him be the showrunner on Welcome to Derry.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I would like to see him do that. Um, he is a talented director. Like,
Really sounds, yeah,
and
he's
like, yeah,
I've always joked that he sounds like your seventh grade PE. He has the name of a seventh grade PE teacher, but he's a master of horror. You know.
but yeah, that's cool.
Hello?
The
Oh,
oh, sorry, what was that?
oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, that's what has come out. It's called Welcome to Derry. I'm glad we speculated about it because
Mhm.
I'm excited to see um what they do with it because I did like the chapter one, chapter two. Chapter two was not overall great, but it was a okay film. It's a good
It was
film.
all
I
right. It
enjoyed it.
wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah. I did like the original miniseries. I think that's always going to be a classic. So
Mhm.
I want to know like if they're gonna follow the miniseries route or the two movies route. I think they're gonna do the two movies route
For
because
the
Welcome.
TV show.
Yeah, for the TV show, the new one coming out.
You mean like split up the kids' stories and the adult stories?
No, I don't think it's gonna be that. I think it's gonna be something different.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like different characters going through like different experiences with Pennywise. I think
Right.
so. It's everyone in the town's affected. I think
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah. No. No. I think it'd be pretty cool.
yeah. So yeah, that's welcome to Derry
Welcome to Derry.
and welcome to Derry. And would you like to start getting into the film of Mad God.
To Mad God. Yeah. Shit, Mad God. How do you talk about a movie like Mad God?
Uh,
Um, well, I think it's pretty fair to say it's not your average movie by any means. It's not like your typical act one, act two, act three, anything like that. Though, and it's not even linear really. Um, I guess the best way to describe it, or okay, actually, I think you should go first. How could you best describe this movie? If you had to tell someone why they should watch it, or if you would recommend it, I don't know if you would, but if you had to describe what this movie is as an experience, how would you describe it?
oh man, it's very hard to describe this movie, but if I were to recommend it to someone and tell them about it, I would say this movie is about a journey through a version of hell.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I'll just say it's a journey through a version of hell, and all you're gonna see is a bunch of wild shit.
So
you
so so
know?
you so you think he's going through hell, like literally through hell?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
Because it from what it looks like, yeah, there's like there's the servants and stuff that are doing stuff,
Yeah.
and overall, like there's like different creatures, there's different like monsters, like
No, no, I get what you're
yeah,
saying, but
yeah,
I don't think it's that I don't think it's that literal. I think it's called Mad God for a reason. I think it's a creation myth. I think it's an origin story.
hmm
Because yeah, this movie is not your average horror film in the sense that like, there's a final girl in the jock or there's not like an obvious monster or anything. um I think what this movie is like what Dom said. It is sort of a journey, but I want to say it's hell. Like it's a whole world. I mean, it looks like hell, you know. But I think one of the so all right, so let's talk about it structurally, right? So there is a structure to the movie. You have the first, like, let's say the first half of the movie, the act one and half of act two, where we follow a guy as he goes down further and further into this world, right? To
hmm
set off a bomb. And then when he tries to set off the bomb, he gets kidnapped, tortured, and cut open while he's still alive. And they tear out gold, books, and a baby, right?
hmm
And then the baby is taken on this, taken away while we dive into that character's past and how he got there, you know. And then we get to him getting murdered, and then we carry on to the child being taken to by this crazy looking like plague doctor on
hmm
this long journey to be turned into this sort of matter. And then at the end we see that it's life, that it's like it's single cell organisms that evolve into multi-cell organisms and all that shit. And then we see that life is like these little metal square ingots, kind of like in 2001 A Space Odyssey.
hmm hmm
And they get thrown onto planets, and when it lands on the planet, it turns that planet into a version of life, into a version of the life created from that original world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why I was looking at. I was like, okay, what
Yeah.
does that mean? Like, what are they trying to say here when they're
Yeah.
putting it on different planets and how it turns into life? Because that's what I was thinking too. Maybe it is life,
Mm-hmm.
but I look at it as like a different form of life.
uh,
That's the way
uh,
I see it.
okay.
It's like that species, they go into like when they get on the different planets, it's a whole nother breed of life. That's the way
Yeah.
I saw it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I can see that, but like I really kind of want to, because this is it's a fascinating movie, man. It's a fascinating movie. I think overall, I'd say that I really enjoyed it. Like I like this movie a lot. It's not the kind of movie I'd probably sit down to watch a bunch. I don't think I don't think I'm going to be showing this one to Lindsay ever. But it is, it is, it is nightmare fuel for sure, and it does feel like a descent into hell. But I feel like there's a lot more going on in this movie, philosophically and intellectually,
Yeah.
than what's on
Me
the surface.
me too, man. I just I'm trying to like think about like what is the whole point here?
Yeah.
But like I'm just so like weirded out by like all the things I've seen that I
Yeah.
was so distracted by that I just completely like not even know the I wasn't even knowing what the point of the movie was, you know, because
Okay.
I'm just getting so shocked.
Okay. So I'll give you my read of the movie. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So the guy, when we go back to where to his past, to where he comes from, right?
Yeah.
We actually go to like this post-apocalyptic looking city with like cars and bicycles and bridges and buildings, right? It looks like modern civilization. So this guy, right? Like
Yeah.
he's just a man. Like he's faceless. We understand he's a person like us, though, you know. And he's on this journey beneath civilization, right?
Hmm.
And essentially, if it so, the first part of the movie is essentially, well, a lot of the movie really, I believe, is a criticism of capitalism and shit like that. Because what we see as it goes further and further down is kind of like a food chain, right? Where like every human being, every living thing is destroyed and consumed by another monster that gets destroyed and consumed by another monster. I think like the sort of like ultimate message of this is when he walks past that row of dudes who are getting shocked, you know, and they're all shitting themselves, and all that shit goes into a funnel and it's getting fed to a guy, force fed
Yeah.
to a guy, you know? Like I think what that is literally like a literal consumption. Like we torture each other, you know, to produce shit, you know, literal like garbage, you know, like hoarder or like plastic toys and all this bullshit, you know, and we force feed it down each other's throat, and it's also repeated when he gets all the way to where they craft those ingots, right? That
Hmm.
land on the planets at the end, and we see that they literally just create these people two at a time who have like no other purpose but to work, you know,
Hmm.
and their lives are so meaningless that like they get ran over, they get beat, they get the fucking smashed by flying bricks, you know, and nobody cares and shit like that. And
Hmm.
it's like that's working life. That's what it is to like be a working member of American society, of a capitalistic, and not just American, but under globalism, under capitalism and shit like that, you know? So what we're seeing is that this is where this is life. This is life right here. Literally what life is, you know? And so this guy is on a mission, the main guy, you know, and his whole life he knows that when he accomplishes this mission, he can die, right? That bomb is going to go off and he's going to die with it. And that is going to be how he chooses to die with dignity, right? In his way and shit. But what happens is the society, the underground doesn't give a shit what he wants or anything like that. That even in death, he cannot give him a moment's peace. So they take him and they torture him, and they in front of a audience that's clapping and cheering, you know. And you think about like you know, like some of the darker sides of the internet, like the dark web and like live leak, and you know, or even like you could even like extrapolate that to seeing people like risk their lives in parkour videos and shit, you know. But essentially we put each other on display and shit, and this guy who just wanted to die, you know, like a dignified death, is now like being tortured and kept alive just to be tortured, you know. And then what's even worse is everybody's watching it as entertainment. And so after he's done being tortured for entertainment, then they just cut him open. And at first, right, and it's a very interesting metaphor, because at first they dig in and they just take out organs, just organs, right?
Hmm.
But then they start taking out pages from books and shit like that, our stories, you know?
Mhm.
And then after that, they start taking out gold, like our literal value as human beings, like what makes us valuable. They take it away from us, and then they take away the baby, and the baby is taken away from the person, and then that's when we go into the flashback where we find that he comes from like the city that destroys city and shit like that. And then that's just sort of like more building on the on like the idea that I think that's when the movie goes from being like just a nightmare movie, like nightmare fuel, to being like, no, guys, this movie takes place on our world, with
Mhm.
buildings and bridges and cars and bicycles. This is our world I'm talking about here, not hell. That's how to me that's when the movie kind of changed in theme.
Mm.
So after that long flashback, we get caught up with that crazy plague doctor with the ribbons everywhere,
Mhm.
which who by the way is the person standing at the top of the mountain in the very opening shot, the dude who gets shocked and disappears and then the blackness spreads. I don't know if you remembered.
Yeah, it was like a bunch of people were surrounding the place, right? I think it's like
Yeah, it's
pyramid
like
or
a
something,
cave
and then
temple.
yeah, you get shocked and all the clouds come in and like
Hmm.
cover the screen, and then we get
Yeah,
the monologue from the pages.
right. Right. So then we kind of um go further into the world, and what I think is crazy is that like by this point in the movie, a lot of the sort of gore aspects of it have been toned down, like a lot of the real shocking stuff, and we're kind of settling into a more creeping like philosophical horror. We go to this we follow that plague doctor as it takes the baby on this long journey, and the baby is crying the whole time. And okay, so then we cut to this little neon world segment where this like little like seeming like mother and father like creatures are playing around and shit, and it's a whole thing, but it's sort of like bringing it back to sort of life in a simplistic sense. The maggots come and they eat the maggots and all that shit, and then they take the baby and they put it into like a thing, and it also becomes another fucking ingot and shit like that, like a little square piece of whatever. And then the baby comes into its final place where it gets essentially killed and turned into dust, right?
Mhm.
And this is when what I was talking about earlier. This is when the movie starts getting interesting. I think that baby is God. I think the movie is called Mad God because we are literally watching the origin story of our God, the God we pray to here on earth, you
Mhm.
know? And this is a movie about where he came from or she, whatever whatever you believe in. But with it, like this is a story, this is God's home planet. This is what the movie is about, basically. This is God's home planet. It has capitalism, it uses people and all that shit. And this is why God created our world as a sort of reflection of that. Not as ugly and not as like hideous, but it is on the same level. Essentially what the movie is saying is that in order to justify the existence of God and to square it away with the world that he created for us, you know, God has to be mad and he has to come from a horrible place. Cuz otherwise why would he create life in this way, you know?
Mhm.
And that's my read of the movie. What do you think on that if you want to
Dude,
expand?
I just started realizing that like when you were talking about it, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
bro, holy shit, dude.
Uh-huh.
Because I was like watching it, and you like you said, like the baby, they're taking it, and I was like what the hell's happening? And then
Yeah.
when he turns into dust, and it gets to its final place, and it turns into dust,
And
I
it's
was like,
by the way,
what
did
is
you
that?
notice it's gold dust?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and when they tear out the guts, they tear out the gold next. It's life. It's what it's value. It's life. It's what gives us value, and it's
Mhm.
taken away from someone, then turned back to dust to create millions of more life forms elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. There, there. Yeah, like I had to think about it a little bit. But it helped to rewatch right before I joined. Like I rewatched like the last 10 minutes, and it really helped. But yeah, I think what this movie is about is God's origin story.
Mhm. Yeah, because I always wonder, it's like, how was God created? You
Uh
know what I'm
huh.
saying? Like they're like, I'll talk to like Christians and Catholics, and like, how was God created? Do you know? And
Yeah.
they're like,
Mhm.
they never gave me an answer. You know, it's always like, oh, it's the Big Bang. You know, God created the Big Bang, but it's
Right.
like, what about God Himself?
Hmm.
What the hell is happening here? So it's like, this is a good like origin story, like you said, like
Yeah.
for the creation of God, and how, God has to come from a horrible place in order to bring change into His own world's perspective,
Yeah.
and bring His own perspective into a new world where it's better, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, I want the world to be better, right? But it's not gonna be perfect because like you guys have your own free will, you know?
Yeah.
You guys decide what you want to do with your life and what do you want
Well,
to do and
the
stuff
the
like that.
the
How does
thing.
that fit in?
Well, for me, the thing is that like I'm an atheist, right?
Me too.
So,
I'm kind of on the border, you
mhm,
know? I'm
yeah,
days I'm like hard believing, sometimes I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
maybe,
You
but
might be a
like
little more on the agnostic side.
it's a little weird for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an atheist, right? Like I believe that there is no inherent purpose to life. We're not here. No, we weren't brought here for a reason because nobody brought us here. So how could there be a reason, right?
Right.
And so I think that's reflected in this movie because if you look throughout the movie, everybody is very cold towards each other. There is no kindness. People are, or these things eat each other, torture each other.
Kill each
Uh,
other.
what happened?
Oh, they kill each other.
Kill each other. They even look like they rape each other. You know, we have instances of sexual violence in the film too. And nobody looks nobody no like they walk past it. They don't really care and all that. So I believe that if there is a God, if there is a God, then he doesn't care. He doesn't care that we
Yeah.
exist, you know? And I think this movie kind of reflects that in some sense because yeah, like if he came from the man who went through that journey, when did he ever see anybody be compassionate towards each other? Not once, you know? Um and if you look at the creation of life itself, it itself was a very dispassionate thing. It just a guy just did it because that's what he does. It wasn't some special thing that meant something good. It was just sort of part of what he does. He kills babies and he turns them into other life forms, you know? And the fact that it could be just so and the fact that it's sort of constantly that people are constantly killed, recycled, like they're melted down and resold again. Life is cheap and shit. And yeah, so of course God would think that life is cheap. And that again would explain a lot of the state of the world.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was George Carlin,
Uh-huh.
the comedian, yeah, the comedian. There's a segment in one of his stand-ups where he's talking about the existence of God and how, like, okay, if God exists, why is there shit happening in the world?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? It doesn't make no sense. He's like, either God doesn't exist or he just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And it's more likely that he doesn't give a shit than that. If he does exist, it's more likely that he doesn't give a shit than he does. I you
Yeah.
know, I think there are two questions to me that are the only questions that I need to ask to know that like there is no God.
Mhm,
Um one of them is very simple. One of them is that like okay, let's say you have a kid, right?
mhm,
You say you have a kid and you want him to do well. You want him to be a good person when he grows up, right?
mhm.
what are you gonna tell him? You're gonna tell him what to do, right? You're gonna be like, "Hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't treat people like this, treat people like that," right?
Mhm.
Because you care about that kid. He's your kid. You love him,
Yeah.
and you want your kid to do well in life, right?
Mhm.
You want him to succeed. If God exists, you know, and he really wants you to go to heaven because he loves you, why doesn't he tell you which religion to follow,
Yeah. Because
right?
there's two religions.
Yeah, exactly. There are too many religions. If there's this many religions, then everybody's just guessing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And if everybody is just guessing, then that means that, like, for all we know, none of these religions are the right one. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's going to hell because God isn't being direct with us and telling us what He expects and what He wants. And a lot of people say that it's like, well, it's because God wants you to make your own choices. And it's like, well, if making your own choices is neither going to get you to heaven or hell, then God shouldn't punish anyone for making choices one way or the other, you
Yeah.
know? And so that's one question that always kind of seems to get a lot of people thinking. But the second one that I always ask when it comes to God is okay, uh do you think being selfish is a good thing?
What was it?
Do you think being selfish is a good thing?
That's a good question. Personally, myself, I don't like to be selfish.
Uh-huh.
I just want to take care of others. When I'm on a film set,
Yeah.
if I'm the director or or both producer, I want to make sure everyone's taken care of and they, get treated right equally and all that stuff. So I don't feel like it's all about me. It's a collaborative uh thing.
What
It's
okay, what
everybody.
yeah, well, what about jealousy?
Jealousy. So with jealousy, um, I don't think you should be jealous. You know,
Right, we
and
shouldn't. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I'm saying like I don't like for me personally. I don't like to be jealous because to me, in my own perspective, is like if I'm jealous of somebody else, it takes away the fact that I'm not focusing on my own thing.
Right,
And
okay, so
yeah,
essentially, right, like,
and
someone
I'm
who and
sorry.
think of it like this, someone who's jealous and someone who is selfish is not a leader, right? It's not someone you wanna lead. It's not
Mhm.
someone you respect or admire. In fact, if you know, like, anybody, like, whenever we see someone we know being jealous or selfish, like, we're like, "Dude, knock it out. Get it, like, figure your shit out because that's not cool, right?"
Mhm.
God himself has said, "I'm jealous. I am a jealous God." He wants the people to not love anything more than they love him and shit, you know? So here's
Yeah,
the
because
thing.
I hear people talking like, God wants you to do this, God wants you to do that, and it sounds
Mhm.
like God. It sounds like the Christians that are telling us this. It's like, well, what about my life?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
right,
Does that mean like like I don't mean shit?
right,
To me? What about the people right next to me? You're saying to them as well, like, oh, you don't mean shit. You gotta follow God's path. You gotta do what He says. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. And it feels
right.
like it's like controlling. Like it feels like it's like cult shit.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
definitely.
like that's what it feels like, and that's why I stopped going to church. That's why I stopped going to these little groups
Yeah,
or stuff because it feels like they're
control.
the people that run it, yeah, call they're the people that are running these things that run the church, that run the events is because these people are trying to tell you like your life is meaningless.
Yeah.
Like you don't mean shit. God is the shit.
Mhm.
God is
Yeah,
what's up,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, but ultimately what I'm trying to get at, is that they say that God you can't know what it's like to be God, because being a god is such like being God is so extra above what being human is, right?
Hmm.
But if you're selfish and you're jealous, and you know you're selfish and you're jealous, and you don't do anything about it, then you're not a god. You're a little bitch. Like,
No.
like you're too human. You're too human to be that unknowable, in my opinion. If you admit to yourself and others that you yourself are jealous and selfish. If you're jealous and you're selfish, then you're not godly enough to be a god. You're a person just like the rest of us. So yeah, that's assuming God exists at all, which I don't.
Yeah. And by the way, like we're not all perfect, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
I made mistakes.
Hmm.
I had issues, it's not a perfect world. It's not everyone's not perfect, we all go through shit, you
Yeah.
know? You can debate whether, silver spoon, type of people that, you know, get fed and stuff and like they don't know the struggle of life. But I say everybody because I feel like we all do somehow get into a struggle and go through it.
Yeah. We all
Um,
have our good days and our bad days.
yeah, yeah, and when it comes to just like I believe, in myself, I'm a good person. I'm not perfect, but I do my best to be a good person.
Hmm.
I treat people with respect, kindness, equality. I don't think we should be fighting each other. I don't think we should be being rude, mean to each other, because I run into people like at stores that are just rude at, being
Yeah.
rude to me because they're having a bad day, right?
Hmm.
And it's like and they just decide to project it on me. It's like, what did I do to you?
Yeah.
What I'm
I'm just trying to buy some apples, man.
yeah, apples, a Snickers bar. I have all this shit that I'm
I
trying
love
to buy.
apples and Snickers.
Yeah. and it's like I did, and I'm still being a nice person, being treating them with respect, even though they're not treating me back with respect, I'd still treat them with respect back
Hmm.
because I'm not going to stoop to their level. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
the way I see it. Um, so, yeah, that happens to me, man. It's like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
But
It's a bummer, dude.
it's, yeah, it's a bummer, but like, I still stick to my path. I still stick to my belief in treating people with respect and dignity.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to stoop. If I go back at them and I do the same thing, I feel like I'm stooping to their level.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's the way I see it. I know other people don't see it that way. They go all out. They're like, yeah, bitch, fuck you, fuck you, And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's you, but like I'm just different. That's
Yeah.
the way I work.
Hmm.
So everyone is different in their way.
Yeah. No, no, I get what you're saying, man. But like, I think ultimately this movie is just, I think it's a very like philosophical movie. It's a very complete movie. Actually, is what I really like the most about it was that like I really felt like not only did I go on a journey here, but and it was a fascinating one. You know what? I really want to like talk about the look of this movie.
Mm,
It doesn't look like film, and it doesn't look like video. It has this like I think one thing that helps with stop animation is that it's so textured. You know what I mean? Like stop motion has a very like textural quality to it that feels like you can almost like tactile, like you can almost feel it with your hands.
mm,
And I think that really helped bring the story more to life and more visceral. But what I really enjoyed the most was that like it really just kind of felt it didn't feel like a movie. It didn't feel like I mean it tells a complete thing, but it doesn't look like a movie. It doesn't or it doesn't look like film. It doesn't look like digital. It looks like its own like hellish creation. And what I like too about that is that all of that is done entirely through post production effects, through filters, just like a really clever combination of like film scratch and particle effects, and just all these things, along with these monstrous looking creatures. Like it all just added up to give this movie like this hyper unique look and feel. I haven't felt this type of horror I think ever that just kind of feel except okay, maybe like Climax by Gaspar Noé, but like something that just kind of felt so viscerally experiential like this, like it's been a long time.
What I like to say about this is that yeah, I like the mix between stop motion animation with
Mhm.
real movements. Like with there's actually humans in this
Mhm.
that walk around like normal like motion, and then there's puppets, that
Yeah,
act like stuff like that. And then of course you got the stop motion animation type of creatures and all that. So they mixed a little bit of like everything, right? Like
yeah,
they mix it into a thing. Like they'll use stop motion when they need to. They use like normal movements when they need to. They have special effects, there when they need to fill in the stuff. It's just amazing, like a combination of everything when it comes to. I know you say it's not a film, but to me, like yeah, it's to me it just seems like a combination of everything that has been into film. You know.
yeah. No, no. I mean, yeah, it has a lot of film techniques, but what I'm saying is that because because it has all those things in it, right? It has that stop motion animation, it has that live action CG, or I mean that live action elements. It also has compositing. It also has like just all these things. Like what I'm saying, the only thing what I'm saying is that all the post production, post processing, and all that, like all those things added together to really give this movie like an extra, I don't know, surreal vibe. You know?
Mhm.
It doesn't feel natural, I think is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't feel like as natural as film or video does.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree, dude. Like it's definitely different.
Mhm.
Like the way they decided to proceed with this quote unquote film.
Yeah.
you know? Uh but yeah, man, it's great. It's great. Like you opened my eyes a little bit on that cuz like
Yeah.
I was so confused and so like mis not misled, but like so like out of focus when it comes to the message and the whole like the point of the film, you know? Um
Yeah.
but yeah, just man, that was yeah, that was cool, man. I never seen a movie like this ever.
Yeah.
You know, when I watch a stop motion animation movie only, like you can tell like yeah, that's a movie. That's
Mhm.
stop animation like the whole thing. And then there's mix of like live in a live person and stop animation like in the the original guy that did it. Well, he was not the original, like the guy who did like the original King Kong. Like you had the mix of the stop motion and and then you got
Yeah, the close up of the
the
hands and
the
stuff like that.
hands and the
Yeah.
face, and then you got the humans. They're actors.
Yeah.
But a film like this is just so weird. It's so weird. It just feels like it was doing that, but it was not. Like it was weird, man.
Yeah.
It was just such a weird feeling to like see stuff like a mix of everything.
Yeah, the
It's just
people shitting
weird.
themselves while they're getting executed so that guy can eat their shit was probably that's what I knew I was in for
Yeah.
something else. Yeah, did you notice? Did you notice? Because I mean, this is Phil Tippett. He's worked on a bunch of legendary movies over the years and done a lot of creature effects and a lot of makeup effects. Did you
Yeah.
notice all the little nods to his past work?
I haven't. I don't know if I seen his past work because I
Oh,
did
you've
look up.
seen his past work. Oh, yeah. I mean, okay.
Okay,
Here's what
maybe
I
so.
noticed. Here's what I noticed. So he was originally going to do the stop motion dinosaurs for Jurassic Park before they decided to do CGI.
Mhm.
Um, so at the very beginning, you see the T Rex's skull from the Jurassic
Oh,
Park.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
and it doesn't look exactly like the xenomorph, but it does kind of carry the xenomorph motif because you go down and then you see this pattern that looks kind of vaginal, and then you see that it's from a skull, and then the skull looks a lot like the xenomorph.
Mhm.
The Cyclops from Jason and the Argonauts
Yeah.
is in the background. And also like the little alien inside the big aliens from Independence Day. It's
Mhm.
inside one of the little jars.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are the things that I noticed. Little references to Tippett's past works throughout the movie.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't. I noticed the dinosaur, but I didn't really pinpoint like Jurassic Park. You
yeah.
know, but
Yeah, 'cause no, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think like the dinosaur, the T-Rex skull, like in the shirts and the logos. I don't think that's actually what it looks like. So I think in order to do that, it would have to be the Jurassic Park actual,
yeah,
uh, the actual Jurassic Park pattern and shit.
hmm yeah, man. Wow, man, that was a good one, man. I
Yeah.
can't lie. Like, learned a lot from this movie, from
Hmm.
talking about it. It's probably one of the deepest conversations I have on this show yet.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
was just
Once you get into the to religion, it gets pretty deep.
yeah, and yeah, man, it's just that the whole aspect of the origin of God and where he
Hmm.
comes from, explain that part, and of course the reminiscence of real life when it comes
Hmm.
to capitalism, um, slavery, I guess you can say,
Slavery,
because
another big part. Yeah.
yeah, and just yeah, just reminiscence of real life and how close it is to
Hmm.
the if you want to say God's real and this is what he created, it's probably like created off like what his experience was, I guess,
Yeah.
in his past life. So but then again, I'm debatable on that because
Yeah, I mean, that's
I
just
don't
my
know.
read, that's just my
Yeah,
read
yeah,
of the movie.
yeah,
I'm sure this is the kind of movie that it was the kind of movie that a lot of people could to take a lot of readings from, but I feel pretty confident in my in my interpretation, at least I feel I can back it up pretty well.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. That's all I gotta say about this movie.
Yeah, yeah, no, me too, dude. You wanna go ahead and do some plugs before we head out?
Yeah, we'll do some plugs and then we'll talk about we'll say I'll say the next movie they're gonna watch and
Mhm.
yeah. So you can go first.
Okay. Yeah. So I have my own YouTube channel, Pop Counterculture Media. I have my short films there, along with a couple of video essays and a couple of movie reviews. But right now, my major project is These People Hate Cinema, which is an ongoing series of videos that are takedowns of toxic fandom channels like Nerd Raw, Date the Quartering, Critical Drinker, Geeks and Gamers, That Star Wars Girl, Ryan Canal. It goes on and on and on. But yeah, it's a fun little stream. I'm really working on trying to get a fan of these shows on the stream, like to have just like I'm not trying to like shit talk them, just have like a normal conversation about like why do you like this? This is trash, you know. Um, yeah, I drink on those streams a lot, primarily because those videos are fucking lame as shit. They're boring as shit. They're dumb. I challenge anyone to watch that shit sober. Like I seriously challenge you. So yeah, it's a fun show. It's doing pretty okay. I need to figure out a way to get more views soon, but it's doing okay. So if you like this, if you want to see some more serious takedowns of like rhetoric and manipulation and shit like that, go ahead and check it out.
Yeah,
Well,
man,
even
that's cool. So, oh yeah,
yeah.
my bad. Lindsay was in the chat. She said, well, I'll just mention this and then I'll move on to my plug and then
Mhm.
of course we'll continue. If there is a God, he does not care. Actual Christians, well, Eve ate the apple, so
So
we
we
deserved
deserve
it.
this.
It's the answer to all humanity's doom. Hey, that's a good point.
Yeah. No, religion's wild, man.
Yeah, yeah. They resent gay people and all that. Talk
For
about
real.
homophobic, yeah.
Hey,
Um,
if God created everybody, he created the gays too, you know?
yeah, yeah. You gave him free will. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, Free Williams, dude, all over the place.
yeah. So yeah, so here's my stuff. So check me out on Dominic Sinclair Studios, which you're on right now. Check it out, sub, like, comment on my videos. I am, I make short films, fan films, videos talking about horror and all that. So check me out on my YouTube. Check me out on my Instagram, dominic.sinclair.80 on Instagram. I do posts on there, as well as my Facebook, Dominic St. Clair. I do posts on there as well. Just film stuff and random stuff. Usually I don't normally post on those a lot, but I do talk to a lot of groups in there. So yeah, just check me out there and we can talk if you want and have a conversation. But those are my links, those are my plugs. And on that note, our next uh watch movie that we're going to be talking about is Waxwork 2 Lost in Time. We
Yep.
enjoyed the first Waxwork, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the second one because it
I'm
does
excited for it.
continue. Yeah, it does continue that feel. What it does, like I said, it expands on the story of Waxwork, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like time travel type of thing. Because like
Okay.
in the first one when we talked about it, it's like they're going into these scenes, they're going to these wax scenes, and
Yeah.
what they're doing is they're traveling through time.
Well, 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 well.
Oh,
Let's
oh,
let the
wait,
movie let's let the movie
wait,
go ahead and tell us that.
wait, hold up, hold up.
Okay.
No, I'm just
But
I'll
yeah,
leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So,
yeah, yeah,
Waxwork
yeah.
2,
Some
Lost in Time.
yeah. Yes, it's gonna be on. It's on Tubi for anybody that
Yeah, it's
wants
on
to watch
Tubi. It's on the
along.
sa yeah, and visually looks better.
Yeah.
It looks like it looks better.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, that's what we're gonna be talking about next week.
Yeah, and also, we've never talked about this, so I'm curious, just to have this have the conversation on air finally. I want to talk about The Last of Us Part Two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
so next week we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Waxwork too.
All right. All right. Double feature.
Double feature.
Number 2s in a franchise. So
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm excited to talk about Last of Us Part 2. I really
Me
loved
too.
it. So
Me too. I
we're
really hated
definitely
it.
gonna
So.
okay. We'll definitely talk about it on the next episode.
Yep. All
So
right,
yeah,
man.
thank you everyone for
Yeah.
watching.
Thanks for watching.
And I hope you all have a good day, good night, whatever time zone you're from, and we'll see you next week. Bye
Peace.
bye.
Bye.